Well, hello there. This is episode 338 of the Keto Diet Podcast. Thanks for being here. We have a good one planned for you today. We're talking about fasting for weight loss, just like the title promises. It's a good one. I really have nothing else to share other than we're talking about fasting for weight loss. If you have questions about today's content, you can go to healthfulpursuit.com/contact and ask me. You can catch up on previous podcast episodes and notes from today's show by going to ketodietpodcast.com or just look in the show notes today. You can get all the links and details and access to different resources and things that I put in there. So yeah, let's do this thing. Hey, I'm Leanne Vogel. You're listening to the Keto Diet Podcast. I've created a free guide with tips on how to start keto and maintain your fat-fueled life. Grab it at healthfulpursuit.com/free as a little thank you for listening to the show. Today's guest is Ashley Salvatori, and she hosts a popular ketogenic intermittent fasting YouTube channel helping women learn the basics in an easy-to-follow, condensed way. After losing 74 pounds as a stay-at-home mom of two, she uses her own experience and research to help others stay motivated and get the best results from this lifestyle. She also shares her favorite recipes on her blog 24caratketo.com and offers free tips and tricks. Okay, so if you've been following me for a while, you know that I have like a love-hate relationship with fasting. I think it's such a great tool for women that respond well to it, but it can also be a detrimental tool to women that don't respond well to it. I know that sounds like really simple, but you'd be amazed at how many of us practice fasting when it's actually not working well for our bodies, and we just continue fasting because we've been told that it's so good for us. And yeah, there are so many benefits to fasting, but let's say, for example, you have a cortisol imbalance, meaning that perhaps your cortisol is quite low or you're struggling with a really high cortisol. When we fast, we actually increase cortisol. So if you're dealing with adrenal dysfunction where the cortisol in your body isn't exactly doing what we want it to do, fasting may not be so beneficial for you. And in the same light, if you are fasting using caffeine and you have hormone dysregulation, whether it be progesterone, estrogen, even thyroid, having caffeine may also affect your hormones. So it's always good to know before you get started with anything that you can quit at any time. And Ashley and I chat about this today of if it's not working for you, just stop doing it. And also know that just because you practice fasting doesn't mean it has to be an all day, everyday thing. Well, what Ashley explains is that fasting for her is an everyday event. Some women benefit from doing fasting a couple of times a week, a couple of times a month, however they want to set it up. And if you're like, wait, can we define fasting before we get started? I am so happy that you asked, or I'm pretending that you asked, but maybe you're thinking that right now. Really, intermittent fasting can also be referred to really as intermittent eating. So you are going periods of 12, 18, or maybe even 24 hours without having a meal. Now, how we define fasting is different for everybody. And really how I see it is there's two different paths. The first path is that you want to balance your blood sugar. So if your goal of fasting is to balance your blood sugar, the most important thing to this fast is that you, surprise, balance your blood sugar. So for you can have fatty coffees, perhaps decaf fatty coffees, or rocket fuel lattes or little fat bombs. Really, the goal with your fast is to balance your blood sugar, and those things will allow you to do that. Another option for fasting is to increase something called autophagy, is how I pronounce it, but other people pronounce it autophagy. I can never get that right. So autophagy, basically what we're doing with autophagy is to recycle our cells and help with the detoxification of our cells. So if that's your goal, then it's really important to just drink water, period. Just water, nothing else. So in today's episode, Ashley talks about a strategy of eating 50 calories throughout her fast, and that kind of falls in between both of them. It wouldn't be considered autophagy or autophagy, and it kind of maybe would be considered blood sugar balancing depending on the foods chosen. And that's really, really important. If we want to balance our blood sugar, we want to go toward things like that have fat. So fat bombs, fatty coffees, we wouldn't want to like have a steak and call it a fast. I hope that makes sense. And I hope that sets you up for today's episode. If you want to learn more about fasting and you already have my program, The Keto Beginning, head on over to chapter 6 where we talk all about that. And if you have my program Fat Fueled, it starts on chapter 5, which just happens to be page 72 for both the Keto Beginning and Fat Fueled. So if you have either of those programs, head on over to page 72, check out all the fasting tips, and let's cut over to today's episode. Hey, Ashley, how's it going?
Great. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm literally so excited to be here. This is like the best moment in my life. You don't know this, Leanne, but I actually learned keto from your book, The Keto Diet. That was the very first book that I ever purchased on keto, and it taught me like everything, and it's literally changed my life.
What? I had no idea. I had no idea.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So this is so cool because when I was writing the keto diet, I just thought that there would be like one woman that would like read it and it would like encourage her to look at her life and change things and like become her own advocate in health. And so that's just so cool that
you started a movement, literally a movement.
Oh, that's crazy. That's so cool because I really didn't think that book would do very well. So,
oh my gosh, no, it's awesome. I reference it like daily.
I had no idea because I found your YouTube videos a while ago and I was just watching them because you're so entertaining and you explain things so well. And then I was like, we need to have you on the podcast. We need to chat.
Thank you.
And here we are. I like to ask all of our guests before we get started, what does keto mean to you?
Okay, so keto to me is freedom. Like, I'm sure you hear that from everyone because keto is just like freedom from binging, freedom from food addictions. It's life-changing. Like it not only my own life, but I've seen so many people's lives change, and I've just seen the freedom that comes from keto. So for sure, keto is freedom to me.
And when you started, I guess, okay, let's rewind to before you found keto. What was your life like then?
Okay. So before keto, let me just take you back to, I yo-yo dieted like my whole life. From the time I was like 13, 12-ish, I had started dieting. I tried every diet pill on the shelf. I was never like so heavy. It was more so just like 20 pounds I was trying to lose as a little kid, and I didn't know what to do. And it just led into all of these struggles. And then before my wedding, I started a low carb diet, and it helped me lose all the extra weight before my wedding. And I felt really, really good. Got married, fell off the low carb lifestyle like a lot of people do, started eating normally again, started gaining the weight back again. I got pregnant with my first baby, gained 60 pounds with that pregnancy. Had that one, and then shortly after I got pregnant again, without losing all of that weight, gained a bunch of weight after that, and then started low carb right after she was born. And then I found the keto diet through you, and I started, adding in more healthy fats, and it's just really literally changed my life. So that's kind of my background on keto.
Wow. And what was your goal? Like when you found keto, what was like your number one thing where you're like, I need to do X?
It was definitely weight loss related because I had gone a little while with low carb. I wasn't counting anything other than net carbs. And then when I learned about the keto diet and I read your book, I then applied it, and it took me from, losing 50 pounds to then losing 75 pounds and then turning it into a huge passion for me. And then I just dove into the research and learned so much more about it other than weight loss, all of the other benefits. And I felt it in my life, depression, energy, focus, mental clarity, all of those things came along. And I was like, I know I need to show people that this is possible. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm busy all day long. I have little kid snacks here or there everywhere that I don't touch because I can stick to keto and I can follow this. It's the first time in my life that I can actually long-term follow something. So that's pretty much that.
Maybe you've heard of all the amazing things that apple cider vinegar can do for you. If you have not, let's review. It can balance healthy blood sugar, banish cravings, and encourage fat loss. It can improve protein absorption and digestion by helping you break down animal protein so you can use those nutrients more effectively. It can help you stabilize healthy blood sugar, which helps improve energy and mood. An aid in the healthful aging process, has been shown to lower morning glucose, fasting glucose, and help stabilize blood sugar by increasing the ability of our muscles to take up sugar from our blood. Okay, so you could just go to your pantry and chug some apple cider vinegar. No, don't do it. It'll burn your esophagus. So you always have to mix it with water. And here's the thing. I don't know about you, but when I have a liquid supplement, I will 9 times out of 10 forget to take the stuff. And that's why I love Paleo Valley's apple cider vinegar complex, because not only does it have apple cider vinegar, but it also has turmeric, ginger, cinnamon, lemon, all organic ingredients to further support all the benefits of apple cider vinegar and more. If you are encouraged to take the stuff and you just don't think that you'll drink the liquid, you can head on over to paleovalley.com and load up on a couple of bottles of apple cider vinegar complex and whatever else that catches your eyes. I personally love the superfood bars. They're just amazing. Enter the code KETO at checkout to receive 15% off your first order. Again, that's paleovalley.com and use the code KETO at checkout for 15% off your first order. And when did fasting come into your ketogenic practice?
So fasting, I learned about fasting 2 years ago, and it was from Dr. Jason Fung that I initially learned through his YouTube channel. And fasting for me was really about the excess skin, because I had those 2 babies, I had lost a lot of weight, and I had a lot of skin left over. And so I was really interested in the skin and also the tightening, and then losing like the last 10 pounds-ish. And so I got started on intermittent fasting from there and became obsessed. Loved it. My whole life, it was always, you need to eat every 2 hours. You need to constantly be eating or your metabolism's going to get, hurt from that. And it's the total opposite of what is true. And so I think that when I started intermittent fasting, it made such a big difference right away. Within the first 30 days, I loved not having to eat right away, eating when I'm hungry, not just to eat. And so that's when I started that. And that's how I learned about that pretty much.
Cool. And what do you consider a fast now? How is I guess maybe I should ask first, what does your fasting protocol look like now and how has it changed?
So basically the entire time I was fasting, I was doing a 16 8-hour fast. So I was going 16 hours without eating. And sometimes I would do 18 hours. Sometimes I would do 24 hours. I just followed my body's lead. So if I was hungry, I was not hungry. I would not eat. But I do know that if you follow it specifically and try to get to that 16-hour window consistently, then your body's not going to release that hunger hormone earlier. And so I tried to do it every day if I could. But right now I am 6 months pregnant.
Congratulations. I had no idea.
So I am not fasting right now, but I miss it. It's one of those things that I'm like, oh, I just wish I could fast. I miss it so much.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's so great. Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
What's the one big thing that surprised you most with fasting that you really weren't expecting?
I thought I was going to be starving. I thought I was going to be hungry all the time. It really was only the first 3 days that I started fasting that I was hungry. And then after that, I wasn't hungry at all. And I just literally learned to follow my body's lead. And previously, before keto, when I was doing low carb, I think I was doing this naturally too. And then even when I started keto, I just wasn't, it's one of those benefits of the keto diet and of cutting out the complex carbohydrates. You can go longer periods without eating and you're not hungry. So naturally I did it. But then when I purposefully started doing it, I thought I was going to be starving because I didn't really think about that, but I wasn't at all, not hungry at all.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Even when I talk to people like glucose burners that are like, I don't know how you haven't eaten all day. How have you not eaten all day? And I'm like, I just don't have any interest. They're like, that could never be me. And I think, would you agree that in your previous life, when you were doing all the yo-yo diets and stuff, not eating wasn't really an option because you weren't burning fat for energy. But with ketosis, pairing that with fasting, it's relatively easy, just not
so easy. So easy. It's scary to think about, but it's easy once you get started. And for someone just thinking about intermittent fasting that's afraid to get started on it, like, you can stop anytime. That's one thing that like I was thinking, once I start intermittent fasting, there's like, I'm going to have to do this forever. You really can, if it's not working for you, like, just don't do it anymore. It's no harm in trying.
You're so right. I think so many of us get caught up on, as soon as I commit to it, I have to do it for my entire life.
Yeah. Yeah. Or even setting small goals is really great. Like saying, okay, I'm going to do this today, instead of saying I'm going to do this the next 30 days, and just seeing how it goes from there. That helped me a lot. And even in weight loss, like I would be like, okay, I'm going to stick to the keto diet for a week and see if I can get through a week. And I got through a week, and then I was like, I can do this. Like, I'm going to do another week, and then another week, until I made it to a month. And I'm like, I can do this. But if I said I'm going to do a month, I'd probably give up the next day. Okay. Especially with Keto Flu and all of that.
Yeah, totally. Any drawbacks to fasting where there's something you don't like about it, or something you had to change because your body didn't like something about it? Or was it just all hunky-dory from the very beginning? It was like perfect.
I would say the biggest thing is really, like, I like fasting every day, but then when, weekends would come along, we would spend breakfast with my kids and my husband. We would go out to do family things, and I wouldn't fast that day. So, I wish I could just keep fasting, but there's some days that I don't. And then it is harder to get right back into fasting after you don't fast for a couple days. Like, if you take Saturday, Sunday, you don't fast, Monday comes along, I feel hungry in the morning. Like, I'll feel hungry, and then, but I'll push through it for the next like 3 days, but then it can kind of become a cycle, because then I'll finally be good again, and then the weekend will come along again. So it's just finding that balance that was the only challenge for me.
Amazing. And you never experienced any hormone issues or cortisol spikes or tiredness or anything?
No.
That's so cool. This is just such a great testament to the fact that everyone's body is different. And some women are like, I could never fast. It just screws up my hormones, and then I don't have a period. And other women are like, look, I fasted every day and I got pregnant. So
yes,
that's so cool. Keto flu, impossible fasting symptoms that stop you mid-fast, cravings at any hour of the day, or feeling off after a sweaty workout. These are some of the signs that you're low in electrolytes. When I first started keto, I made all of the mistakes. One of the biggest ones was not supplementing with electrolytes. And still, 7 years into keto, I often forget how essential electrolytes are. Honestly, it's easy to forget to take electrolytes because, well, a lot of them don't taste very good or work very well. Enter LMNT, the most delicious, well-balanced electrolyte powder I've personally tried, like ever. Add to water and enjoy any time of day. These electrolytes are salty, as they should be, quenching your thirst and hitting the spot. And the best part, when you head to drinklmnt.com/KDP, you'll receive a free LMNT sample pack. You only pay $5 for shipping. The sample pack includes 8 packets of LMNT. That includes 2 citrus, 2 raspberry, 2 orange, and 2 raw unflavored. Go to drinklmnt.com/KDP for your free sample pack. I love LMNT, and I really think you're going to too. Again, that's drinklmnt.com/KDP to get your free sample pack. And if you don't love it, they will refund your $5, no questions asked. Okay, so what do you consider to be a fast? How do you practice your fasting? Do you just drink water? Do you drink tea, coffee, fatty coffee? What's your thing?
Okay, so I keep the calories under 50 calories during the fasted window. And so it's mainly, water, coffee, that sort of thing. I love doing fasted workouts. And so that to me is great in the morning, wake up in the morning, do my workout, eat my first meal at noon. But 50 calories to me is like where I kind of shoot for. Under there. I don't go above that.
Okay, cool. And length, time, do you time yourself? I know that there's apps where you can time yourself, or do you just kind of do more of an intuitive thing of I'm fasting, when I'm hungry, I'll eat?
I try to stick to just the same time of day every day. And then I stop eating at the same time every day. If the day before I end up eating later, like I don't know, I go out and I have dinner later, I will end up pushing my next day fast back a little bit, but I really do try to just follow my body. If it's time for me to break a fast and I'm not hungry, I will just let myself go until I become hungry. And so sometimes that's 18 hours, sometimes that's 24 hours. It just depends on the day. And it's really great for like to help you focus with work and stuff, because you just don't have to really stop to think about food. You can just go. So
I totally agree. Do you find that you react to certain sweeteners? Like you mentioned calories. I've actually never heard somebody use calories as a marker for fasting. So I'm just really interested to learn more from you and what you've experienced. Do you say like 50 calories? Okay. So like coffees, teas, do you put sweeteners in those? Do you find like sweeteners affect anything?
Yeah. So I only will do stevia or erythritol. Those are the only two sweeteners that I will do while I'm fasted. Other thing, like I just don't even go near the other stuff. I will put a little bit of like half and half in my coffee, because that'll keep me below the 50 calories, because that's usually 25 calories for like 2 tablespoons. I don't do heavy cream because that'll push me over in that while I'm fasting.
Interesting. Okay. And what's your favorite way to break a fast? Like you said, sometimes you go 18 hours, 24 hours until you just wait until you're hungry. Are there certain foods you gravitate toward on that first meal, or is it kind of just like whatever is keto?
I like to have my largest meal when I break my fast. I like to just make that like my big meal of the day. And then I'll have like another meal for dinner. I try to have 2 meals a day. Some days I'll do 3 meals, but for the most part, I like to have a really big meal. And that will typically be a salad, like a big salad with maybe tuna, mayonnaise, that sort of thing. You know, I like olive oil and like apple cider vinegar on there. And I personally do well with dairy. Sometimes like I'll do well with dairy, but then I'll cut back on it for a little bit and then I'll go back to it. So I love avocados. So I'll just really, typically that's my first meal, or eggs and avocado will be the first meal.
That's so interesting. Yeah. Okay, cool. So the biggest meal of the day. So for me, when I fast, when I break my fast, it's like my smallest meal of the day. Cause if I do big, it just causes so much digestive distress and I just feel so heavy and like bloated and not good. So I'll like break my fast with like a smaller meal. And then my dinner will probably be the largest meal. So I think that's why it's just so important to have conversations like this, because it just goes to show that you can find success on a ketogenic diet multiple ways, multiple different strategies, all the things. I really hope you're enjoying today's episode. I'd love to see where you're listening from. You can snap a pic and tag me at Leanne Vogel, or leave a review for the show on your favorite podcast player. It helps me out tremendously. Okay, back to the good stuff. Okay, so we weren't planning on talking about this, but now I want to know, how has keto changed for you since you became pregnant?
Okay, so pregnancy, I had all of these big goals with when I get pregnant, I'm going to stick to the keto diet and all of those things. And then my first trimester, I was extremely sick. So I was not following keto because I couldn't. I was just eating soup, a lot of soup, just whatever I could keep down. And second trimester came along, and then I was no longer nauseous, but still getting sick every day. And I tried to go back to keto, but after you get off keto, going back to keto, especially when you're pregnant, the keto flu is like killer. It's so hard. And, you know, when you're not pregnant, it's easy to just push past that. It's like, okay, I know this is going to end. But when you're pregnant and you just got through 3 months of sickness, it's really, really difficult. So my second trimester, I tried a couple times and I just kept going. I couldn't make it. I was like in bed. I'm like, I'm so sick. Like, I can't do this.
Aww.
So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to let my body do its thing. And then now going into my third trimester, I've done some research. I listened to a lot of your stuff. And, I read the book, The Real Food for Pregnancy. That I also found from you. And I'm like right now in the process of trying again. I just had my glucose test and all of that. So that sugary drink is like my system. But yeah, so now this point forward, I'm like, I'm going to try this, but I'm going to do a carb up every night, because that's not something that I used to do in my ketogenic journey before pregnancy. But I think that that will actually help me kind of like get a little bit more carbs, not be so strict, because I think my problem was I was just a little too strict, and, you know, listen to my body. And I don't really have that many expectations. If it works, it works. If not, oh well. I know I'm like really excited to get back full force after the baby's born, you know, within the first couple months, because I know like with breastfeeding and all of that, it can be a challenge the first couple months, but I know it's coming. So it's hard because I want to do it, you know?
Yeah, I could imagine that being really frustrating. And you're not the first pregnant lady to tell me that when they got pregnant, it just kind of all just didn't even work. Like, yeah.
It's amazing because I was keto for so long. Like I was years, you know, and for my body to just react like that, like I just couldn't do it. It was frustrating, but it's okay.
Do you feel like if you would have gotten pregnant eating the way you used to, that your pregnancy would have been different? Like, I'm sure even though you couldn't eat keto, I'm guessing that your choices were like more balanced than they would have been years.
You would think that, but it's not.
Oh, okay.
I have the all or nothing mentality. It's terrible. So when I can't eat keto, I eat all the foods.
Okay. I love your honesty.
And all of like the issues I have with foods come back. All of those same struggles I had before I was eating, it all comes back. So I have knowledge of what I should eat, but that doesn't mean I actually eat it all the time. I try to, like I try to. I have, you know, salmon on a set. Like I'll try to have like one ketogenic meal a day. You know, right now I'm 3 days back to eating like keto, low, like I'm not really counting my macros, but I'm eating the right foods. And besides the glucose drink this morning, I'm feeling really good right now. And so I think the third trimester is kind of like a different stage of pregnancy where I kind of feel a little bit more like myself, and then I can actually do this as long as the keto flu doesn't kill me this time.
Oh, bless your heart. I think it's just such a fascinating thing. Like you're building another human in your body right now. So like mad props to you on that.
Yeah. The weight gain this time around though is more than the previous pregnancies, because I was, you know, not eating carbs for so long. And then all of a sudden I start eating carbs. And even though I was sick in the morning. So then I would like be eating, even though they're like healthier carbs throughout the day while I was like my first trimester, I'm gaining quicker because my body just doesn't respond well to it. It's almost like I'm like almost back to where I was. And I'm really excited about my next transformation. Like, let's just put it that way. I'm like in my body right now, like, oh, I have 3 more months left of this. Can't wait to get to the end so I can start over with everything and like get down to where I was, where I feel my best. But I can tell you the weight gain, like it's one of those things where I have to just be like, okay, like I have to accept this. It is what it is. I will lose it when the baby's born. And
are you giving yourself space after you give birth? Like, have you thought about how you're going to transition? Because, you know, you've had a child before, so it's not like what do they say? You're not new to the rodeo or whatever they say.
Yeah.
But have you thought about how you're going to create space for yourself and kind of get that started again?
Yeah, I'm going to give myself like a good, 2 months after the baby's born before I start really trying to get back to the keto phase. Like I plan on nursing this one, as long as I can, just like I did with my other two. So I'm just kind of going to let that dictate it. Like I'm not going to be so harsh on myself. Like I need to get back into shape right away. I'm just kind of going to follow my body's lead and just do it how it works best for us. I'm nervous about the whole postpartum depression thing. So I'm just going to kind of, take it as it comes, basically. I don't really have many expectations for this baby because I had a lot of expectations for my other ones, and it's like it never turns out how you expect. So
never. I think that's like with everything you plan never works out the way that you planned it, but it's nice to have a surprise and to do something different. And yeah, totally. What do you feel is missing in the keto space right now that you just wish there was more of? I
wish doctors really backed it more. That's one thing, because a lot of people who like find me through YouTube, they always will say, I'm so excited to do this, but then I told my doctor and my doctor says, don't do that. It's not like you need to eat, low fat and that whole thing. I know there is a shift happening now. Like I recognize that like a lot of more people are being accepted that way, but I still think that there could be more, I guess, provided for patients from their doctors on this type of lifestyle.
I totally agree.
Even depression, like people who come with depression, maybe try this type of lifestyle first before going on medication, because that might be all that you need. I know for me, like this lifestyle helped me in many ways other than just weight loss.
Totally. And that's really, I call it like the keto magic. You come for the weight loss and you stay for absolutely everything else that has nothing to do with the weight loss.
Yeah.
And where can people find you, Ashley?
YouTube. That's the best place. So if you search Ashley Keto in YouTube, you'll find my channel right away. Ashley Salvatori is what my channel name is. But if you search Ashley Keto, pretty much anything, you'll find a video that I created. So that's the best way to find me. Cool.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your experience. I really enjoyed learning from you. That's really cool. Your body's just so different from mine. And that's the coolest thing.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. I hope you really enjoyed today's episode. Again, if you have questions about today's content, you can go to healthfulpursuit.com/contact and ask me. And also, we're a little ways away, but I'm going to give you a heads up now. Starting in 2022, the Keto Diet Podcast is going to be launching episodes on Tuesdays instead of Sundays. So just keep that in the back of your mind as we have like 3 more months left in the year, but I'm going to start reminding you guys of this going forward, just so when we show up on a Tuesday, the first couple Tuesdays of the year, that you're not thinking that something is backwards. So I will see you next week for another episode of the Keto Diet Podcast on Sunday. Okay, bye. Thanks for listening to the Keto Diet Podcast. Join us again in a couple of days to discover more keto for women secrets for your fat-fueled life. Music for the Keto Diet Podcast provided by Yechi. Follow Jacob on Instagram at Yechi_official and on Spotify as Yechi. That's YECHI. The Keto Diet Podcast, including show notes and links, provides information in respect to healthy living, recipes, nutrition, and diet, and is intended for informational purposes only. The information provided is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor is it to be construed as such. We cannot guarantee that the information provided on the Keto Diet Podcast reflects the most up-to-date medical research. Information is provided without any representations or warranties of any kind. Please consult a qualified physician for medical advice and always seek the advice of a qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding your health and nutrition program.